Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends, where I, your host, Lucas Holland, will bring you a wiki to hopefully make a fun conversation of, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Karl Smallwood.
Hello.
And I'm pointing off-screen to where he is on my Discord and realising that he's not on camera.
Which means I could be anywhere.
He's a mole.
I could be anywhere.
But we are currently, to date this video, recording at the beginning of December, which of course, with Wiki Weekends, we usually try to make sure that we do a couple of Halloween themed episodes and Christmas themed episodes in the build up to those holidays. But I thought I would begin December by talking about somebody that's maybe a bit more interested in all of the holidays and a bit more inclusive.
Well, if there's one thing I know about Christmas, Lucas, it is every time they try and make it more inclusive, someone out there loses their fucking mind.
Yeah, right. Of someone out there just screaming to the heavens that they don't want to say happy holidays. Is it really going to hurt you that much?
Here's the thing as well. The Simpsons were already figured this out literally 20 years ago on which Krusty the Clown, just at the end of his Christmas episode. It's have a Merry Christmas, a Quasi Kwanzaa, a Tip-Top Tet, a solemn and dignified Ramadan, and a Happy Hanukkah. And that's Krusty the Clown. That's a fictional alcoholic clown.
Yeah, right. And he doesn't care. It just must be such a sad existence to get annoyed by just the general idea of just being nice to other people.
Go call into Radio 2 and scream about the fact that you can't say the slur in Fairy Tale of New York anymore.
Oh god, let's not talk about that. Let's move swiftly on by talking about a character that I'm a little bit familiar with, but not overly, so we're going to be leaning on the wiki a little bit more this week.
Who'd have thunk it on a Wiki Weekends?
Well, that's the thing, is a lot of the time we pick wikis and then barely actually look through the wiki because we're doing our best to try and be entertaining, and then sometimes people are, we didn't read much of the wiki. It's okay, well today there's a video for you because I guess we're going to be discussing the wiki a little bit heavier. I'm wondering whether you can guess the subject of today's wiki by telling you what that quote is.
Okay, tell me a quote from this character. Is it a character?
It is a character.
Okay.
I will give you that much, so that's your little clue that you get. And then the quote from this character is, "You're too late, you can't stop the seasons turning."
No idea.
No idea. What if I say that they're from DC Comics, Carl?
No idea. Wait, Calendar Man!
Idea.
Calendar Man!
It's Calendar Man!
Sticky! Wait, no, who's that dipshit from DC who cares about the date? Oh, it's Calendar Man!
Cares about every single important date, right?
Here's the thing as well, Calendar Man should be the next Batman movie, but they should do what they did with the Riddler, where the Riddler's ultimate riddle is just shooting people.
Bring him into the light. And you'll find where I'm at.
Honestly, it's quite funny that they say that, because the picture that I will put on screen for people now is Calendar Man just dual-wielding massive guns and shooting people.
You know what I bet somewhere out there is the day of dual loses. Someone celebrates the day of dual loses, right? When's Lara Croft Day?
Oh
right?
my god, yeah, that would be Lara Croft's holiday, wouldn't it? It's just dual-wielding pistols aimed at T-Rexes.
Imagine that, you go into a zoo and just open fire akimbo pistols on a tiger, what are you doing? I'm celebrating Lara Croft Day.
No, the thing is, a tiger's not extinct enough for Lara Croft to get excited about shooting at it.
It would be when I'm done with it, after celebrating Lara Croft Day. Do you remember that story about that guy who got eaten by a crocodile or something like that? Because he jumped into a crocodile enclosure at the zoo and screamed, "Fuck crocodiles," and it ate him. And everyone's trying to figure out, is this a crime?
It's certainly not a crime by the crocodiles, I'll tell you that.
Give him the treatment they gave to the Riddler and he just shoots people. Because that's my favourite thing, riddle me this, Batman just detonates 3 bombs in downtown Gotham. It's where's the riddle?
I really enjoy that movie in most aspects, apart from the fact the Riddler is just not the Riddler at all.
It's the Killmonger problem. People don't know the Killmonger problem is where you've got a villain who has a very, very good point, but the movie makers don't want to engage with that point, or they don't want to engage with anything more on a surface level, because it would raise uncomfortable questions, especially when it's being made by a giant corporation. So they have the villain do something completely out of left field, so you don't have to engage with their rhetoric anymore. And Killmonger has a great argument. Hey, black people like pretty rough around the world for a long time. Someone should do something about this. He has got a point. Let's not even shoot that lady with a shotgun second one.
Don't trip. I'm gonna take it off your hands for you.
These items aren't for sale.
How do you think your ancestors got these? You think they paid a fair price?
At the beginning of the movie is, hey, you stole our culture and decided to put it on display in museums. We're going to take it back. And then, obviously, when he's in Wakanda, he's like, no, we need to use our power in a different way rather than just, like, give everybody else what they want. We don't want to bend the knee. And then he just has to murder everyone on the planet because...
Similarly, in Marvel, you have the Flag Smashers, where, hey, when the snap happened and you needed labour, you opened your borders and you let immigrants come into your country to work cheap labour. But now you think the country's too full and you want those people to go away. I wonder if there's any sort of parallel to the modern day in that. Have them start blowing up buildings.
Yeah.
Because the question they're raising is too uncomfortable to try and answer, right?
Even to the point where the other Flag Smasher is like, the hell are you doing? And she's like, well, we need to teach him a lesson. It's like, not by murdering innocent people.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
It's the same thing about the Riddler, where it's like, hey, there is a stark divide between rich and poor, which is a message that can translate to real-world issues. Have him blow up and kill a bunch of poor people, because that way we don't have to engage with his rhetoric. Because he has got a point.
He makes a lot of good points in the first half of the movie, talking about the corruption of, like, Thomas Wayne and the upper class and all this money that he promised that went nowhere. And then all of a sudden it's like, I guess we've just got to, like, shoot somebody, become a murderer, and then become a terrorist because... Sorry, we can't have, like...
Because the movie doesn't want...
Yeah, we can't have morally grey areas in our movies.
Especially not like it's Marvel does not want to. And that's the problem. I don't mind if they want to. And my major issue with this is if you're not going to have the balls to engage with that subject matter, don't fucking put it in.
No, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the new movie The Batman, I think it was called, they both had really interesting villains for the first half until it just, again, reaches the Killmonger point.
Yeah, that's why it's called the Killmonger problem, because like you are 100% on board with Killmonger right up until he just decides, now I'm going to kill everybody. And that's what the movie makers want, because they don't want you walking out of the cinema saying, hang on a second, why is the Black Panther fighting against someone fighting for equality?
Yeah, like, he's standing up for his own nation, what a bad guy. It's like, oh.
So, hang on a second, why is Batman beating up someone who's fighting against corruption? Oh, no, he blew up a bunch of buildings, it's fine. Hang on a second, why are the Falcon and the Winter Soldier stopping disenfranchised immigrants from asserting their autonomy? Oh, they blew up a bunch of buildings so you don't have to fight.
And it's so annoying, right? Because one of the
it happens every time.
Best scenes in the Falcon and Winter Soldier is just that scene where he's like, let me talk to her. And he just goes and has a discussion and goes, you know what? I kind of don't disagree with your point. And then she has to murder a bunch of innocent civilians.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that splash screen at the start of like every single Assassin's Creed game. This game was made by a bunch of different people with a bunch of different beliefs and cultures and religions. We don't stand by anything we do in this game. It makes 0 points.
It borders on the line A-Train says in The Boys, where he sees the generic protest for rights happening, and he stands in the middle and goes, I care about this protest. Are you going to engage with what they're saying and tell me specifically, no, I agree with what's happening here. Let's not talk about the specifics, just that I just want you to see me on camera agreeing with it.
Just saying the words peace.
Yeah. I agree with the concept of peace. Okay, do you want to talk about how we go? No, I agree with peace.
We gotta listen to each other. A-Train's Turbo Rush energy drink.
You know who doesn't agree with Peace though, Carl? Because we have been going on a tangent. We need to talk about Julian Day from Prime Earth, which is where the wiki is talking about here. And again, we have a big problem with like both DC and the DC wikis because like it's a little bit confusing, but I do believe Prime Earth is like the current continuation of comic books at the time of recording.
Do you all better know this, Calendar Man?
Calendar Man would have it all jotted down, yeah. But
If I was writing Calendar Man and I knew about the 15 fucking reboots the DC universe has got undergone, I'd write it into Calendar Man's backstory that he knew about all of this, and that's why he's insane.
Make him like this fourth wall breaking meta character.
Like he's celebrating events that haven't happened. Like he'll be like commemorating tragedies that happened in previous existences of the universe, and it drives him mad that no one cares.
So I've just skipped ahead in the sense I've just read a couple of lines on this wiki of like summing up who Calendar Man is. And
what's his deal?
Calendar Man's one of those where I've watched a lot of like Batman movies, TV shows, like the Arkham games and stuff. He doesn't really pop up much in any of those, but like I've seen bits and pieces of Calendar Man. Like he is in, I think it's like Arkham City where you keep going to visit him in, or it might be Asylum where you visit him in his cell, and like depending on if you're like on a holiday in real life, he'll say different things and stuff.
Yeah, he'll tell you about like, you know, facts about the dates. Which is not really, that's not a supervillain. That's just, that's a novelty bog roll, right?
I could hardly be held responsible for strangling that street corner Santa Claus for his suit. I needed the disguise to sneak into the judge's Christmas Eve party.
Yeah, it's like he acknowledges the real-time holiday that you are playing the game on, which is a neat little Easter egg, but doesn't tell me too much about the character. But apparently Julian Day is a criminal who has the ability to age based on the seasons of the year. At the end of each year, he dies and is reborn again the next year. This cycle created his obsession with dates as he uses it to play sick games for Batman to solve. And I didn't know that this guy, like, dies and is reborn every year.
I think my idea is way better. I came up with my idea in 5 seconds during this discussion. I think the idea of he's got cosmic awareness and he's driven mad by the idea there are like events that people celebrate in other universes that haven't happened yet.
Or ones that have been wiped out of existence, right?
Yeah.
Because what do you think happens to Calendar Man when he figures out that the new 52 existed for like 5 years?
Driving mad, right?
Yeah. He's like, there's other versions, there's other holidays I might not know about.
And I think as well here's a key problem. A lot of Batman's villains, at least the ones from the comics, tend to be a bit cerebral. His moniker is the world's greatest detective. The problem is, it's really hard to write a smart character. And this is another problem of writing a smart character is difficult if you're a fucking idiot, or you're writing it for a general audience, because you can never write too complicated a problem. So you run into the problem of not being able to create too complex an issue for Batman to solve.
Yeah, because ultimately there's one of two ways of showing it on film, right? Is either you have a character that essentially goes through every single element and you write it in a way where the audience can solve it as you watch along.
Yep.
Or you end up with something like the BBC version of Sherlock, where just unbeknownst to the audience, Sherlock pulls clues out of his ass and
that you didn't have access to.
Exactly. So ultimately it creates a very smart looking character, but it feels very underwhelming as an audience member because we could never put the pieces together ourselves.
You ain't nothing. Hound.
And that's usually done, like the way they do it on BBC Sherlock is, they have Sherlock pull answers to problems out of his arse, because if they wrote the story in a way where the audience could pick up on clues as and when Sherlock did, they might solve it before he does.
Which then ultimately makes Sherlock look less smart.
Yeah, because he's supposed to be the smartest guy.
Did it that way? Yeah. Is that Sherlock is meant to be so smart that nobody else could figure out what Sherlock is figuring out.
But if, like, you know, you present some breadcrumbs to the audience that they can follow and solve the problem before Sherlock does, because it can be done. For example, the show Poirot. Not Poirot, it's the books. It's based on Poirot, but I like the show more than I like the books. Just I like David Suchet. Poirot is a great mystery detective show. Mm-hmm. And generally, you'll probably have it mostly figured out, but it's the social aspect that you can't figure out, of like the why. You might figure out the mechanics, but it's the whys you don't know, and that's why that classic detective media trope of right at the end where the detective sits there and explains how the crime happened and why it was committed specifically.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed a lot of Sherlock when I was watching it, and it does break the watching experience a little bit when you realise that flaw in its writing trope, but it ultimately, especially in earlier seasons where it was a bit simpler and not so convoluted, it's still like ultimately a satisfying thing to watch him break down the reveal of how it all happened.
But as soon as you realise that in the Sherlock show, Sherlock solves all the problems with things he discovered and learned off screen that you weren't parlay to. Same with Batman, right? Batman always has a plan that he somehow figured out in some cases decades prior. Mm-hmm. He just pulls a solution out of his ass. It's like, Batman, how do you have the solution to this problem? Oh, well, you don't say I've already planned for this this eventuality.
That's the thing, is like Batman's always got prep time.
That becomes an out for writers to not have to explain it because they're not smart enough to write a character as supposedly smart as Batman is. So they just say, well, fuck it, he solved it off screen.
Yeah, Batman had already thought about this problem previously before the comic started and has already come up with a solution, so when the problem comes up, it's fine. I've got an out.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
But going into the brief history of Calendar Man here, we've only got one paragraph to gleam off because, again, it's a newer variation on the character, and it's kind of what we don't like, right, is that at least Marvel is just like, here's the Earth 616 version that's been going on for like 70 years. It's all just in one place. I'm going to read directly from the wiki here.
So this is verbatim.
Verbatim. Calendar Man, usually a permanent inmate of Arkham Asylum. Who's writing this wiki? Come on. Anyway. When Batman hid Psycho Pirate in Arkham, Bane came for him and tore through the asylum and defeated all its inmates, who Batman had freed to weaken Bane. Eventually, Bane confronted Calendar Man, but instead of fighting him, Calendar Man stated that everything was just a loop and that all of this was pointless as Bane would never win.
Well, he's not going to win. He's in a comic called fucking Batman.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of, like, the Killmonger problem, of like, why is it okay for Batman to pit criminals against other criminals in like deathmatch style fights? Keep in mind, Arkham's like a mental hospital for people with like serious like psychological issues.
Yes.
Imagine like you're in there and it's like, I need help, and Batman's like, no, go fight Bane. So I don't want to fight Bane though. I want medicine. I want help for my condition. I don't want to commit crimes anymore. No, fight Bane.
Please, can you just send the psychologist in and just Harley Quinn comes back flipping it? It's like, I need help, please.
Imagine that as well. Imagine if you're in Gotham and it's like you've got like serious psychological issues. It's like, I need help. It's like, okay, go chill with Killer Croc. It's like, I don't want to be near Killer Croc. But there needs to be a level beyond that. There needs to be like Super Arkham, right?
Well, there's like the I don't know how canonical it is to the comic books, but in the Flash TV show, they have like that meta prison.
Which is hilarious, because that is like the most against human rights shit ever. Where it's like a 1-by-1 cell where they stand inside with no entertainment, food, or outside contact. It's like, that's not allowed. Like, again,
they don't even put a toilet in there.
There's not a toilet, there's not even a TV. They've not got books. And it's like, oh, they're too dangerous to be let out. It's like, they still have rights. And again, they never address it. Because they don't want to address how fucked up it is that the Flash has the ability to do that and no one ever tells him he can't.
Alan, this is for your own good.
Don't do this. Guys, come on. Iris? Cisco, come on, man. You have to let me stop it.
Like, that Flash one's so bad. Because it's like, they say that, and I know they do it because it looks cinematic when the Flash walks in and they're stood there right at the front of the bars. But they've not even got anywhere to sit down.
No.
It's like POWs get to sit down.
At very least, they've come up with an idea of, let's put these people in a separate place than the mentally deranged people that actually genuinely need help.
Or like in Marvel where they have like the Raft, where it's like if you've got superpowers, you go to the superpowered prison.
It still must feel a bit rough when, like, even on the level of, like, Calendar Man, right, where his powers here are listed as accelerated aging and resurrection, and again, you're putting him in a prison with, like, Killer Croc and, you know, Man-Bat and Bane. It's like, really? Day's body ages at an accelerated rate with the seasons, quote-unquote. Each season he gets older and will always die in winter and molt his skin.
Yeah, why would you use that and become a supervillain instead of just like, okay, I'm going to collect the most amount of social security because technically I'm always like an OAP for like the latter half of the year.
Just keep putting life insurance on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then he also has Resurrection, where after Day dies in winter, he molts his skin and is reborn a young man in his prime. This usually takes an entire year, but with chemical spores, he can hasten the process to as little as a week. Yeah, and then going over to his New Earth wiki, just because, like, the Prime Earth doesn't have loads, just says that his crimes always have a relationship to the date that they are committed. The theme may be related to which day of the week it is, or to a holiday or special anniversary on that date, and he often wears different costumes which correspond to the significance of the date. Though he does have a main costume with various numbers meant to represent days of a calendar sprouting from the shoulders, and it's dumb as fuck, and it's absolutely stupid. I do think, in a, like, very ironic way, that the old Calendar Man outfit with, like, the stupid calendar on his shoulders looks way better than, like, the Roman numerals tattooed around his head to look edgy.
Yeah, I prefer when it looks like Jim Carrey in that one scene in Bruce Almighty where just all the post-its appear everywhere. And it's just each post-it's got like a new date on it. And here's the thing, like, if I'm Batman, it's like, okay, Calendar Man set a caper for you. It's like, who cares? Well, let me guess. I've just got to Google what is today's date. Right? Just, again, like, these are not puzzles that are difficult to solve, right? This isn't like the New York Times like crossword or something. This is just, what is today's date?
That's true, but it does seem like Calendar Man gets, like, a bit loosey-goosey with, you know, the fact that his crimes have to be associated with a certain day, because it does say here, he seriously injured Batman internally with a blast of ultrasonic thunder when he interfered in Calendar Man's Thursday crime. The fuck does ultrasonic thunder beating down Batman internally have to do with a Thursday?
Well, Thursday is Thor's Day. That's where he gets his name from.
Actually, yeah, good point.
But here's the thing, though. What about if the Thursday happens to be St. Patrick's Day? Does he just going to throw snakes at him instead?
Because I assumed Calendar Man waited for the more important days, like, not just a day of the week, because that means he's got to commit a crime every day.
It also means, well, there's no rhyme or reason. It's like, every day is a day, dipshit. It's like, oh, Batman, I'm celebrating that holiday, Thursday. So what do you mean, Thursday?
Yeah, exactly, and it's like Calendar Man's Friday and Saturday crimes were committed without meaningful opposition. However, Batman deduced that Calendar Man would not attempt to steal a priceless artifact of the Egyptian sun god Ra on a Sunday.
Because it's the day of the sun. Even though the Egyptians probably didn't celebrate Sunday because that's from the Gregorian calendar.
He needs to get his shit together. But instead, Calendar Man would escape with his stolen loot on Sunday, since it is traditionally the day of rest. To that end, Batman sneaks out of bed against his butler's wishes and stops the Calendar Man at the train station before he boards the Western Sun Express.
Here's the thing as well, this is clearly written by people who are fucking idiots, right? Of like, oh, he's not going to steal it on Sunday because it's named after the sun. It's like, but he's stealing the Egyptian artifacts and they celebrated and had a different calendar to us.
That's just excellent. That apparently goes on a 6-day cycle of committing crimes that Batman sometimes gives a shit about. And then apparently on Sundays he's like, right, time to just get the helicopter out of the loot zone, right? Just... as if he's just getting a train. As if he's just boarding a regular train out of the city to go get his loot back home. Very much just like and dislike this bit. Whereas, like, one of his characteristics on the New Earth section of the wiki It's just obsession, that he has obsession with holidays. He was driven insane when he was put in solitary confinement on the night of December 31st, 1999. So basically he just missed out on Y2K, and apparently he, like all of the machinery in the world, just apparently broke and decided to become obsessed with holidays. Anyway, moving on to some quick trivia about Calendar Man here. On his early incarnations, Calendar Man was depicted as the usual stereotypical Silver Age villain that used different costumes to commit crimes based on the days of the calendar, and ultimately it's like early comic books, Silver Age stuff, where a lot of things is just like, look how wacky and fun everything is, right?
I said, it's St. Patrick's Day and just throw snakes at Batman. Now what?
Yeah, bring the snakes back to Ireland.
Let's go. See, that'd be a great villain. I want that villain in the next movie.
I guess that's kind of what earlier Calendar Man was. But after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is just one of the many, like, universe-altering crises in DC, Calendar Man was barely used, and he was completely revamped by writer Jeff Loeb on the iconic Batman The Long Halloween. In this new version, Calendar Man was institutionalized in Arkham Asylum and was deemed as an insane, ruthless criminal who still held a fascination for crimes based on the calendar, although there was never any mention of silly costumes or ridiculous crimes. Boo.
I don't have time for your crazy.
Oh, you really don't. There's lots of crazy out there these days.
Well, then he's just a criminal who commits crimes. So he's obsessed with the dates.
Yeah.
Everyone commits a crime on a date, dipshit. That's what that's how time works. What's this specifically like, I don't know, like July 13th? What's that got to do with the crime? What happened on July 13th that made him want to commit a crime?
And that's why I prefer the idea. It's not just about, like, days, it's about holidays, right?
Yeah, or just historical holidays, or maybe forgotten holidays.
Well, yeah, I'm sure Calendar Man definitely knows about all of them, as long as the writer's, done enough research.
Mate, I have got such a good idea for a Calendar Man revamp. Do you know, like, in Invincible? Have you seen Invincible yet?
I've seen up to season, like, halfway through season 2.
Like, do you know, like, Dr. Seismic, where his, like, gimmick is that he's really, really well educated on, like, social issues?
Oh, yes.
Where he talks about how, like, he has, like, a minor in women's studies and stuff. Make Calendar Man super woke, and he commits crimes on days that don't get celebrated. Do you know, they have, like, there's, like, those days where it's like, oh, it's supposed to be in remembrance of, like, some cause or some peoples, and it just never gets any, like, mainstream play. Make him commit crimes on those days to draw attention to them. Or, like, John Columbus Day, where it's like, Columbus is a fucking huge racist, why do we celebrate this? I've been doing that shit.
And then also just throw in Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yeah, stuff like then random stuff where it's, like, fun.
And that's the... When you look it up, pretty much every single day in the calendar has, like, a thing, right?
Yeah, and there's always, like, there's Pride Month, there's, like, visibility months and days, and it's to the point where there's probably more than there is days in the year. There's probably a lot of overlap.
Like, there's important stuff that should be talked about, like Pride Month and Black History Month and things like that. Then there's holidays, but there's also, as a just dumb example, like Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I think Calendar Man, like, should just focus in on the dumb ones.
Imagine Calendar Man during Pride Month.
That would be great.
Just imagine him just committing, like, a series of, like, gay-themed crimes.
Just putting rainbows everywhere.
Like, he could literally turn the frogs gay. You can make Alex Jones explode. Turn all the frogs gay in celebration of Pride Month. Let's go.
But then would that really make him a villain? That would make Batman look...
No, do you know he'd be a villain in a comic book movie where he'd be, like, committing crimes to raise awareness for, like, gay rights, which are, like, not real crimes, but then at the end of it, he'd just shoot 5 people for no reason, so you don't have to engage with his rhetoric, even though he's got a point.
Just near the end, he just, like, bombs a city because he's got to be the bad guy.
Because you get halfway through the movie, like, wait a minute, Batman's beating up someone trying to draw attention to gay rights. Maybe Batman... Oh no, he blew up a hospital, so it's okay. Even though blowing up a hospital does not make sense for his character, it's fine.
Oh god, that'd be fun, but, like, it'd be so upsetting, right?
Well, ultimately as well, it's like there's been a lot of written about this of ultimately Batman stands for the status quo. Batman doesn't actually, like, at least not in mainstream interpretations that people... He never actually tries to improve anything. He only ever tries to put it back to the way that it was.
Yeah, he never actually tries to do anything. He just tries to stop people commit crimes. He's not trying to make Gotham necessarily a better place with like the money and influence he has.
He does in the comic books, but because it's a comic book and they get rebooted every couple of years and they need to have like villains, it never seems to fix anything.
Yeah.
But he generally in like mainstream interpretations like movies and the cartoons and the TV shows, Batman never addresses the root cause of crime, because that would require the writers to engage with topics that have analogues to real life that they may not feel comfortable doing.
Well, there's that, and then there's ultimately just, we need this comic book to exist forever, and Batman can't solve all the problems, because then there wouldn't be problems for Batman to have stories about every week, right?
Man, what do you think like Calendar Man will do on 9/11?
Oh god, Carl, I'm just ending the video there.
What do you think he's going to be doing?
God damn it, Carl, I'm stopping.
Is that the title? What would Calendar Man do on 9/11?
No.
Lucas, what's he doing?
No.
So for everyone at home who's still watching, we have one last thing to say, don't we, Lucas?
We do indeed, and that's just a special thanks to those on our shout-out tier over on our Patreon.
And it's lonely at the top this month because there's one person we need to shout out, and that person is B of Awesome. Cheers to you.
Indeed, and if you would like to join them over on our Patreon, you can find the links in the description below.
Otherwise, go out there and have the day that you deserve, and from myself and Lucas, Merry Christmas.